Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Woman's Heart, where we uplift, motivate, encourage, and empower women. I am so glad that you are here, whether you watch on the live or whether you watch on replay. Still glad that you're here. This is a sisterhood. Make sure you follow us on all our social media outlets. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And when you go there, take somebody with you so they can subscribe too. Check out the social media outlet specifically for women. Brand your business, network, and share life moments. That is toawomansheart.org. And then when you finish over there, slide on down to toawomansheart.com. And after you leave there, mosey on over to toawomansheart.store and get the t-shirts that speaks to the heart of a woman. See? Caution, don't try it. Get yours today. All right. Well, so tonight we're talking about suffering silently. And as you all know, when I start something, I usually try to start with a definition. So let me get the definition of suffering. Okay. All right. So suffering means, this phone is suffering meaning is, my glasses at. All right, here we go. Suffering is meaning is a noun. It's a state of undergoing pain, distress, or hardship. It said, what is the real meaning of suffering? Distress, suffering, misery, agony mean the state of being in great trouble. Distress implies an external and usually temporary cause of great physical or mental strain and stress. The hurricane put everyone in great distress. Suffering implies conscious endurance of pain or distress. Look, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a life coach. I don't have none of those credentials. But what I know is in our communities, we go through a lot of traumatic experiences and we don't seek the help that we need at all. Some of us are good at coping with traumatic experiences and some of us are not. Depend on your background of how you was raised, and some and your faith in God plays a great part that helps you to dealing with the struggles, the stresses, and the strains of life. But we have been taught what happens, we keep it to ourselves. What happens in the house stays in the house. So, in a sense, when we hear those words, it taught us how to keep things to ourselves and to keep things bottled up. And my one niece says it all the time. We all need to go to therapy for one thing or another, because when we think we have it figured out, some of us really don't. We really don't. We need to talk to somebody to help us get through those moments that has shooken us. And we don't know how to regain ourselves back. It's a hard thing in traumatic experiences that can cause us to suffer silently. And we had this conversation before when we talked about, children being violated by a loved one or potential parent, potential babysitter, or potential friend. And they come to you and they tell you about these traumatic experiences and you brush it off like it's nothing. So now you have created an unsafe space for them. So no longer do they feel like they're safe and they're protected when they tell you something, and they don't feel like you believe what they say. So what you know what they do with that, they internalize that and they start building these walls and they start not trusting others because They're trying to figure out a way how to defend themselves because it seems like nobody else is going to step up and defend them. For me, like I say, I can always talk about me. I can't talk about nobody else's story. I can tell you things that have been, spoken to me, but I can't speak to nobody else's story, but I can speak to my own. So in a couple of streams, I told you all about me being pregnant. I told you about my son being born premature at 6 months, 1 pound and 12 ounces. Well, the doctors said that he was not going to live to see the next day. And that was something I had to internalize. I had to deal with it. And then I told the doctors, I understand what you're saying, but you're not the last word. God is the last word on whether he will live to see the next day or not. Then I had to deal with the process of somebody telling me that I am not equipped to take care of my own child. So I had to deal with that. I had to internalize that when them telling me I'm not going to be able to take care of a premature child that was sickly. So I had to internalize that. So I had to deal with that. That's the second thing. But the thing that almost took me out was the death of my son. And not even my family know the struggles that I dealt with in the death of my son. He was at the age of 3. He was not at home with me. He happened to be on respite care that day and happened to be with one of his nurses. And this particular day, something would not allow me. I couldn't get myself together. I'm supposed to go out with the girls, but I could not get myself together for whatever the reasons may be. Nothing was working out right. Washed my hair, didn't dry, didn't do it. And so when the girls got to ask me what was wrong, and I didn't know what was wrong, but it was something about that day that just was not right for me. And so I got the phone call from the nurse telling me that my son was deceased. He sat up in the bed, he laid back down, he smiled, and he was gone. And right then and there was the first time that I felt like empty. I didn't have, it seemed like I was in a room, but it seemed like the room became so small. And so I had to go to the hospital and I had to explain every scar that was on his body. Every scar that was on. And it made me feel like I had done something intentionally, but I didn't. And got through that, went through the funeral. That was hard. Don't even remember half of that. But the part that almost took me out was after the fact when everything was over with. And I had to clean out his room, clean up his oxygen tank, clean up his trach machine, take down everything that was related to him. And I almost lost my mind behind that. Almost had a nervous breakdown behind that. I was suffering silently. But I did have enough sense to call my aunt who had lost a child. And I told my cousin, I need a ticket. I need to get out of here. And I went there, I prayed and I cried. I prayed and I cried. But I realized a lot of us who suffer silently may not have that outlet, a family member, a close friend to whom we can talk to release those things. And nobody never told me that I should go to grieving counseling dealing with the death of a child. And there are a lot of you out there, whatever that traumatic experience is, whatever that loss is, you are struggling with dealing with it. And you're internalizing everything that you're dealing with. And I'm telling you, find you somebody to talk to. Find you a therapist that you feel comfortable with and talking to. Let's throw out, I can't go talk to no therapist. They think I'm crazy. They think I'm this. They gonna think you crazy whether you talk to a therapist or not. They are going to think that you are crazy. So disregard what they think. We cannot continue to live our life on what others think of who we are when we know that we're battling something on the inside. And I'm telling you, that mind of yours, that mind of mine will lead you down a path that you cannot return from if you allow it to take over. Your thought process is so strong, especially when you're grieving, especially when you've seen something traumatic. It has an impact on you. And a lot of us, because I'm guilty of it too, says, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And we walk around and we smile, we laugh, and we have fun like everything is hunky-dory on the outside, and we are falling apart on the inside. We're screaming for help without screaming for help. Look, talk about it until you feel better. Because when you don't talk about it, when you don't release it, when you don't let go of it, it can lead you to do some self-harm things to yourself. And a lot of people are harming themselves because the pressures, the struggles of life have become too much that they can't cope with it. And a lot of us, friends and families, see the signs and we choose to ignore it until it's too late. If you see something, if God has revealed something to you, if you feel something about an individual, then you need to do your best to ask them, what can I do to help you get over this hurdle? Or tell them it's going to be okay. Do we need to find somebody for you to talk to? Do you need to go to a therapist? Because a lot of us say we are okay and we are not okay. We're not okay. We fool ourselves into thinking that we are okay when we are not okay. I said in a TikTok video, I said on here too, sometimes you have to cry and sometimes you have to scream. And if crying and screaming will get you the relief that you need, then that's what you need to do. Cry and scream. But when you bottle stuff up, it's just like you take a can of pop. You shake it up. It's still closed off, right? You take that can of pop, you shake it up, but I guarantee if you pop it, it's going to shoot up. That's how we are when we hold things that are traumatic in our lives, when we hold hurt in our lives, when we hold experiences that we have been through in our life, and we don't release it. We don't let it go. We don't talk about it. We don't seek the help that we need. And the sad part is some of us, some men don't feel like they should seek help neither, because the saying go, if you cry you a punk, if you do this you're a punk. We have to disregard that. Your mental health, if you really want to actually look at it, your mental health is so much more important than your physical health. Because if your mental is not right, you definitely can't get your physical right. But you need to truly work on your mental. There are a lot of people that sit in the crazy house. There are a lot of people whose mind they have snapped because of pressures that they have dealt with in life. And I'm telling you from experience, I've been on the corner of some of those pressures. The loss of a child is great pressure. There are a lot of mothers who are in denial of the loss of their child and say that they're okay. Look, I almost snapped, almost lost my mind from losing my child. But we have to take ownership. We have to acknowledge that we were not in a good place when something happened to us. We weren't in a good place when something happened to us. When my father was murdered, that is a traumatic experience. And When my mother died of pancreatic cancer, that was another traumatic experience. But some things we can prepare for if somebody is sick. And even with knowing that somebody is sick, we still have to prepare ourselves. We should prepare ourselves. They're not going to be here always, depend on what the sickness is. We need to prepare. And if you're not rooted, grounded in God, it may make it a little bit difficult for you to deal with. And even some people that are rooted and grounded in the Word of God struggle as well. And mental health is really important. It is so important that you get your mental in order. This is how depression creeps in. This is how you have anxiety attacks, you have panic attacks, because we, as a race of people, like to keep stuff very deep within. Our natural response is, I'm okay. There's nothing wrong. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And you're not good. You're not good. There's nothing wrong with you acknowledging that you're not in a good place. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that you're hurting. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that you're missing a loved one. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You have to do what's best for you. And can't nobody fight for you better than you can fight for yourself. It is so important for you to fight for yourself. And fighting for yourself means the first line of defense is acknowledging that you have a fight. It's standing in something that you need to fight. And then the second line of defense is finding you the help that you need to help you with that fight. This is the only way we're going to heal. We can't keep brushing stuff up on the rug. It's so much suicide going on. It's just too much. Sunday, I was at a friend's house and we were sitting down having conversation. And there was a young lady who the doctor told her that she should not have any more kids. And if she had any more kids, having another child, I think she was on number 7, she was on 6, and if she had another child, it'd be number 7, it could potentially kill her. Well, she disregarded what the doctor said and she ended up being pregnant, right? She didn't tell nobody she was pregnant. She went into labor, had the baby, wrapped the baby in saran wrap, put it in the shoebox, and put it on the shelf. Now, the other kids heard the baby crying, but they didn't know what to do. She walking around the house, she cut the umbilical cord and everything, walking around the house, and what she didn't do was take out the afterbirth. So she walked around the house with her kids and dropped right in the middle of the floor. And she was gone. She hemorrhaged to death. Then they took her to the hospital, found the afterbirth was still in her. And then they realized that there was a child. When they went back to the house, they found the child in the shoebox wrapped up, but the child was gone. The traumatic portion of this is her younger children actually visualize their mother dropping dead in front of their face. Now, those kids are going to need therapy to deal with that because that's a lot to internalize for a young child. How do you internalize? My mother's walking and then all of a sudden she dropped and she's not coming home anymore. They can't internalize that. You can't explain it because they really don't understand it depending on their age and how young they are. All they know in their mindset that their mother died in front of their face. That's all they know. So instead of us, what usually happens in our community, and let's be honest about it, instead of us getting help for those individuals, what we do will be brush it aside and let the kids grow up, think they're going to forget it. But that subconscious is a beast, whether we realize it or not. It works even when we sleeping. And it works. It really turned the wheels. And when something traumatic happened, just closing your eyes, you can see it replay over and over and over and over and over again. You can see it replay it. So imagine a 4-year-old not being able to go to therapy. I don't care how young they are. They need to talk about it. They need to understand. They should understand it so they can learn how to cope with it. It don't cause them later on down the line to be an alcoholic. It don't cause them later on down the line to be a drug addict. It don't cause them to be none of that. They learn how to cope with it because you love them enough to find them somebody they can talk to. See, these kids hold in a lot of stuff. Hell, some of us adults hold in a lot of stuff that we don't share and we don't talk about. Some of us are still walking around with stuff on our back that we need to find somebody couch, chair, and lay in it and get it off our backs. But you have to fight for yourself. And then we as loved ones, if we see the signs, if somebody change, their aura changes and they're not the same type of person that they used to be, we need to pay attention to that. Because I'm telling you, when you miss those signs, guilt will eat you up. They will eat you up. Stress is the silent killer. We all know that. But trauma and traumatic experiences is a silent killer too. Especially when you don't talk about it, you don't deal with it, and you don't face it. There are people out here who's lost loved ones and they're still struggling with it today. They can't cope with it. They can't deal with it. They don't know how to deal with it because it's hard for them to deal with, period. They don't know how to do that. They just don't. They don't know how to do that. It's a struggle for them. Totally. It's hard for them to deal with it. And maybe somebody has mentioned, you should go seek some therapy. And the first thing they'll say, I don't need to go see nobody. When you say that quick, you do need to go see somebody, even when you don't think you need to go see somebody. And you will be amazed how much that will help you get over the hurdles you need to get over. But we don't want to do that because we've been taught in our communities that therapy is taboo. It's not important. It'll be okay. Go to bed, get up tomorrow. It'll be better. But is it really? You've seen all these people that's been people take their lives of being bullied. People why? What they do. They take their life. They do. We need to get out the thought process that we can fix it on our own. And everything we can't fix on our own, because when you're talking with some of your friends and even talking with some of your families, there are some things that you don't feel comfortable in sharing with them. But if you go and sit and talk with somebody that you have no relationship with, you can get the clarity, you can be free, and you can get the help that you need in that conversation, because that conversation is going to be beneficial to you, because the person to whom you're talking to is not going to judge you. And a lot of our problems that we don't go seek the help that we need because we feel like we're going to be judged. We feel like somebody's going to think that we're weak. We feel like somebody's going to say that we're not strong enough to deal with things we're dealing with. I keep telling you, that mind is something else. That mind will take you down roads that you don't want to go. And some roads you can't turn back from. So once you take a life, or you take your life, you can't give that back. And then in doing that, you don't think about who you're leaving behind, who you're affecting, how it will affect them, what is the thought process, what they're going to say, what could I have done better, what did I miss, what did I didn't do, how could I, been more present, all this stuff. Then you start going through a cycle and your mind starts churning on you. And now the guilt starts to sit in. So when that happens, you need to go to therapy too. Everybody needs to go to therapy. Anybody that was affected needs to go to therapy. And if it happens in your vicinity, if it happens in your face, you definitely need to go to therapy. That's something you need to do. It's important to go to therapy. Don't sit around here like, oh, well, I'm going to wait a couple of weeks and I'm going to see what's going to happen and I'll feel better next week. But you might not feel better. That is still sitting on your shoulder. It's still sitting on your back. So why not address it? And why not find a way to cope with it in the best way that would be beneficial for you? Now, if somebody is sick from a disease like cancer or something like that, you still need to cope, because especially when it comes down to parents, children think if a parent tell them, I got this and the doctor gave me 4 weeks, they be like, no, because I got a niece right now that says, um, and she had and let them go. We don't know how to do that. And when my mom was sick with pancreatic cancer, when she was sick with pancreatic cancer, I prayed for God to take her. People say it might sound cruel, but I got tired of seeing her suffer. So I prayed and I asked God to take her, because I didn't want to see her suffer. And sometimes we do ourselves more harm than we do good by holding on. You have to find peace within yourself to let go. And then there are some who don't do nothing for their parents whatsoever. And as soon as they transition, they the loudest one, screaming and yelling and all this stuff. But if you have been a good steward, you have been a good child to your parent, then honor the memories. Honor the lessons that they taught and they left you. We understand you'll miss them. Who wouldn't miss them? I miss my mom. I miss my dad, even though he got on my nerve. I miss my son. But they left me some good things. You follow what I'm saying? So we should learn to find the help that we need in order for us to have a good mental health. Because I'm telling you, mental health is so important. When you have so much stresses and strains in your life that consumes you so much, you will find yourself walking around the block and don't know where you live at. Seriously, because the pressures of life have consumed you so much that you don't know where you live at. Because the problem, the issue, the traumatic experience have consumed your thought process. You didn't deal with it. And that's your way of not facing it, because you didn't want to face it. It hurt too bad, as we say. I can't believe this happened. Why did it happen? Why? Why did they do that? Why did they feel the need to do that? And sometimes, whether we want to realize it or not, conversation is really good. We need to check in with people. And what we don't do is check in with people. Good example. Say somebody, you went to a funeral last Saturday. All leading up to the funeral, everybody is okay. You know why they're okay? Because they have all this traffic coming through here. They got the phones are ringing, people are stopping by, everything is hunky-dory. So their mind don't get to rest in what they're sitting, standing, and walking in, because they got all this distraction. These people calling, saying, you have my condolences, you have my sympathy, bringing food, sit down. They going through memories. They laughing, they talking, they doing all this stuff. So you're hanging out with your family and all this stuff. So your mind does not get to think about what you're dealing with. But once the funeral is over, once everybody pack up their suitcase, they go back home. Once the phone calls stop, once the doorbell stop ringing, that's when people really need you the most. It's not before. They need you after. You know why? Because now it's quiet. Your adrenaline was running while you was in the process of making the arrangement, while you was in the process of making all the phone calls to your loved ones, your friends, and co-workers and people they work with. So your adrenaline is on high. Now you got to find out what they got to wear. Now you got to find out where you're going to have the funeral at. Now you got to find out if you're going to do a repast. Now you got to find out what they're going to wear. Now you got to find out where people are going to sleep. You got to find hotels, all that stuff. So you do the obituary. You do all that. Your adrenaline is running high. So you don't get a chance. Your mind don't get a chance to think about it that much. But oh baby, the day after, when everybody's gone, it drops like a bomb and it hits you hard sometimes. The tears start flowing and you can't stop them. Now the silence has kicked in and you're sitting there and you're really realizing my parent is gone, my child is gone, my best friend is gone. All this stuff, it just started to come down on you. And there's nobody calling. There's nobody ringing your doorbell to distract you from your thought process or none of that. You don't have that. So that's why it's so important. I tell people all the time. I just told my niece this the other day. You need to find somebody you can talk to and talk till you feel better. That's what I did. I talked about my son's death until I felt better. I talked to Jesus and I had my aunt that I talked to until I felt better. That's what helped me, because nobody told me about finding a therapist, going to a grieving counselor to help me cope with what I'm coping with. And then you'll find out when you go through those things, you'll find out other things come up too that will help you live a much better, healthier mental life. You'll find out it'll work out so much better. But we don't want to acknowledge what we're sitting, what we're standing, and what we're walking in. We're tough. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I cried a little bit. And we're looking around like, I don't want to let nobody see me cry. Why not? Your emotions are your emotions. Don't deny those emotions. Let them flow. When you suppress all that stuff, you don't do nothing but add more problems to yourself. That's it. You end up with headaches. You end up with heart palpitations. You end up with diarrhea. You end up with stomach problems, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and all that stuff. I say go in your car, go in your garage, go in your backyard, take your drive, cry, scream, do whatever it is you need to do to fight for your mental health. It is so important for you to take the time to fight for your mental health. Can't nobody fight for it for you. You have to fight for it for yourself. And you cannot let anybody minimize how you feel about anything, because they're not sitting in your seat, they're not standing in your shoes, and they're not laying down with your mind at night while it's running rampant all over the place. What could I have done? What could I have said? Could I have showed up? Why I didn't answer the phone? Why I didn't check my email? Why I didn't go by the house? I had a feeling I should stop by the house, but I didn't go by there. And it seems like this must be a real issue with suicide, with traumatic experience, because on TikTok, the girl was just talking about it today, how she felt like she didn't have no value in life. There was no worth. There was no sense of purpose for her to live. And bad as it may seem, there's a lot of people out here who feel they don't have a sense of purpose, no reason to live whatsoever. Life happens. And it's how you deal with and how life happens, how we get to the next level. But if we don't address it and stop telling people, oh, you'll get over it. Well, how you know they're going to get over it? When they're talking to you, that may be the conversation that they're saying to you, or looking for some encouraging words or something to motivate them to fight a little bit further. That's why I say sometimes sharing information with others help. And I said that when I was working at Keebler some years ago, my son he pregnant, she said she was going to abort the baby. And I told her, before you do that, let me bring you something before you make that decision. I came home, I got my son's obituary, I took it back to her. I said, now go somewhere and read this and then come back and let me know what you think. She did just that. And her child should be almost 30 now. But if I hadn't shared my experience, what would have happened? You feel what I'm saying? So whether we want to acknowledge it or not, sometimes the things that we go through, God allow for us to go through so we can help somebody else. And that's what this platform is about. You don't know what's being said, how it would help somebody to sustain or survive. Somebody might be sitting around now saying, I don't feel like life is worth living anymore. And I'm telling you, it is. You have to fight for yourself. You have to fight for yourself. Can't nobody fight for you like you can. I can fight with you, but I can't fight for you. You have to fight for yourself. And love, love is what we need the most right now. In regards of, some would think, okay, well, this person, I'm here and they down there. It doesn't matter. Take all that away. Take all that away and love people. Love them. Listen to them. Encourage them. Motivate them. Inspire them. And let them know it's a rough patch, but it's going to be okay. Right now, what I'm sitting in, I was telling my friend today, we was talking about somebody else that took their life on the phone. And she's like, I don't understand why this younger generation is taking their life, because we don't have coping mechanisms. And we feel that's an easy out. But is it really? Is it really? Is it really an easy out? Because you're leaving somebody else hurt. You're leaving somebody else sitting back wondering why you did what you did. And what could they have done better to prevent you from getting to that point? Listen, people, we have to learn how to talk about it. We have to learn how to be open about it. We have to learn how to communicate our feelings and our emotions. And as I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself, because sometimes I don't communicate my feelings and my emotions neither. And I get to a point that I beat up myself too. And we beat up ourselves so bad that we feel like if we share it, our feelings with somebody, they're going to look down, I know, their nose down at us. And some people may. But we need to be conscious of that, because looking your nose down at somebody, you don't know what it will do and how it puts somebody on the edge. I always say it's just that fine line that will actually push somebody over the edge and push them into doing something that you wouldn't expect they would do. And we have to be conscious of that. But I'm saying, let us pray for those whose mental is struggling. They're in a tug of war with themselves. Let us look at people through different eyes when we see them, because you don't know. You can dress all this up. I mean, you can dress their exterior up really good, but that inside is what's going on. That's the demolition derby that people don't see. Because you say, oh, they was laughing, they was talking. The last time I saw her, she looked good. And then next thing you know, she gone. Well, she might have looked good, but on the inside, she wasn't doing good. And if something happens like that, if you can't be sympathetic, if you can't have empathy for somebody, and you can't be compassionate, don't be going around saying, well, what did they do? Why did they do it? How did it happen? When did it happen? You running 30,000 questions. Those family members, friends are already dealing with enough pressure. They don't need no third degree. They need your support. They need your encouraging words. They need your love right now, because they're dealing with a difficult time. And when things traumatic happen wherever, even if a woman is violated, that is a traumatic experience that she has to deal with. She has to cope with. She has to find some kind of ground to give her peace. She has to learn how to forgive herself. She has to learn how to look at herself without blaming herself for putting herself in a position that she didn't put herself in a position. When children see a loved one life being snatched from a bullet, that's a traumatic experience. Get them kids some help. Get you some help, because you need help to help them. You can't help them, you can't help yourself. So let's not look at therapy with a bad eye or a side eye. We all really need to go. Seriously. Denise said that, and I inclined to believe her. We all need some therapy. Some shape, form, or fashion. Somewhere in our life, we experience some things. And whether it's physical things, do you all know words are very cutting? Words are very damaging as well. And a lot of people don't trust. They have a certain feeling about certain things because of some words that somebody has said to them. They have a long lasting impact. You have to be careful what you say. You have to be careful what you say to people, because when you put it out there, some things you can't recover from. I don't care how much you think that you can get it back. When you damage something, my mama said, be careful about breaking the bridge, because you never know when you have to cross back over that sucker again. And a lot of us have damaged the bridge that we can't get back over because of the things we said to somebody that's unrepairable. Bottom line. So I'm saying to everybody, whether you listen on the live now or whether you listen on replay, if you have a traumatic experience, whether it's a death of a parent, a death of a child, whether somebody committed suicide, whether you've been violated, whether somebody said some words that was damaging to you and you still can't let it go, whether you was abused as a kid, or whether you a wife that's been abused, find you some help. Find you somebody to talk to, somebody that you can vent and fight for yourself. We can fight with you, we can pray with you, but can't nobody fight the fight but you. We can motivate you, we can encourage you from the side ring, but we cannot stand inside the ring and box your battle. You have to box your battle by yourself. You have to find the strength to fight for you. And it's so important for us, as especially women and even men, to find the strength to fight for us. And when we find that strength to fight for us, I'm telling you, you can win, baby. If you get over that hurdle, you can get over everything else. It'll be a piece of cake. But the problem is we have a problem with taking that first step. The first step is acknowledging that we're struggling with something that mentally can take us out. Mentally can cause us to think that, okay, my life don't have no value. I don't see my worth. I need to commit suicide. I need to just just leave here. And then everybody be so much better off without me. Would they really though? Would they really? Would they? Because that's your perception. Because right now, all you see is this dark cloud, and everything is so compact and so smushed in, you can't think clearly. Find you some therapy. If you lost a child, if you lost a parent, if you seen somebody do something in front of you, find you somebody to talk to. Find you some neutral grounds, but you need to be comfortable with the therapist you talk to. Get you some grieving counselors. Take your families with you. Y'all can go individually and then you can do a family therapy. But we need to get the help that we need. We're the only race of people that sweep our stuff up under the rug until it starts bumping up and we trip over our own stuff. And it's time for us to change that mentality. Depression is real. It really is. And you can get so depressed that you can't find your way back. It's like the further you go down the tunnel, the light gets further and further away. And you can get so far away from the light that you'll lose yourself in the darkness. And I want you to fight for yourself. Fight for yourself. Scream, cry, kick, go to a boxing ring, box the bag, do what you got to do until you feel better. I don't care how many years it is. I don't care how many months, how many weeks, how many seconds, how many days. I don't care. Do what you need to do for you to get back to the best version of yourself you can be. And we need to do it Talk to your children too, because they don't really tell you everything that's happening in these schools. A lot of stuff they keep to themselves, but you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention. It's so important. Mental health is important, more important than our physical, and we have to think about that. That mind is powerful. Your brain controls everything in your body, everything in your body. Understand that. It controls what you will and will not do. If it allows you to take you to places that you don't want to go, and you can't return from that. You can't correct the oops. Once the lights are out in your life, you can't reverse that. I don't care what nobody say, how much power they think they got in their hands. Ain't nobody raised nobody from the dead. They can't do that. So let's work on our mental, everybody. Please pray for your loved ones. Pray for your friends. Pray for your coworkers, and pray for people that you don't even like. You see people walking down the street all the time talking to themselves. And all I say when I drive past is, Lord, help. Because they need help, for real. Life pressures are a lot, and they can consume you and take you over if you allow them to. So find you a therapy. Find you a therapist, find you some grieving counselor, find you somebody to talk to until you get to the therapist. There is somebody out there, a good friend, that will let you talk. If you want to call me, I'll let you talk. I'll listen and you talk. And I've been just that. You talk until you feel better. So let us be that person. I know some of us don't want to be that person, but sometimes you're the best person they need to save their life. Look at it like that. You may be their lifeline. You don't know. All right? All right. That was a touchy subject, but I've been hearing that all day about suicide. That's all I've been hearing. Heard it Sunday. I heard it today on TikTok. And it's a heavy topic that we don't talk about. That's why I say suffering silently. Help. People are screaming for help, and we don't recognize that. We don't recognize it. But open your eyes. Sometimes the suffering silent person is sitting right in your living room, laying in your bed, riding in your car, and you don't have no clue. We think we know people, but do we really know people? They only let us in what they want us to see. Understand that, truly. Everybody dealing with something, but how you deal with it is what makes the difference. All right? Make sure y'all follow us on all our social media outlets: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, TikTok. Go over to YouTube and subscribe. Go to the social media outlet for women, toawomansheart.org. Check out the website, toawomansheart.com. Go get you a t-shirt. Caution, don't try it. The To a Woman's Heart store and pick up your t-shirt that speaks to the heart of a woman. Look, share this video. It may help somebody. I hope and pray that it makes a difference in somebody's life. And I hope and pray that it resonates so deep that it saves a life. All right? Y'all take care until we talk again.